$1,000.
So I just put the recording on. I'd forgotten about that for a minute. But so anyone have any thoughts as it relates to Carl? Alden, I see you got your hand
Let me
raised.
give you a little
Okay.
bit of why I'm
Alden,
asking.
wait a minute. Let's Carl wants to add some more. Sorry, please.
Yeah, why I'm asking this is, and I gave you a description in the car of where it came from and why I got it. It's always had loose steering, and I was told that that's the way it goes. Maybe 6 or 8 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, I don't remember exactly when, I had somebody look at it about adjusting the fit of the follower to the worm gear. And they could adjust it down to where it was comfortable, but then the steering wheel would seize up at either end, right or left, all the way out at the end where the worm wasn't worn. So they backed it off until everything was clear, so I wouldn't get stuck going around in circles somewhere. And now 6 or 7 years later, I'm not driving as much, but I'm finding one of the reasons is I'm not happy driving it. Coming back from the summit in over in Newport, it's only about an hour's drive for me, or a little less. And when I was finished driving that, I was kind of exhausted because they're always correcting for where you're going on a road. If you take your eyes off the wave at the neighbors or something that are passing you, you all of a sudden find you're crossing over the line.
How'd you like the?
If someone's
Somebody's got.
Yeah, Richard, I put you on mute.
Okay, so I thought if I'm going to try to drive 4 hours to get out to Pennsylvania,
Yep.
I'm going to be exhausted, and I'm not the youngest chick in the world. So,
but you're married to the youngest chick.
well, she is 2 years younger than I am. Yes, no doubt about that. But we both were pushing 30 when we got married, and it's been a lot of good years. So no complaints.
Great.
So now I thought maybe it's a good time to either say I'm going to live with this and try to sell it to somebody. And I thought, well, who's going to buy it if they test drive it and say, wow, this is no fun to drive this car. So, and then some people started scaring me with the amount of money it takes, because I can't handle a job like that. I don't have a garage. I'm living in an old folks home now, or assisted living. Excuse me. It's not.
Yeah,
not
please.
It's assisted living.
A lovely
Anyway,
place,
that's
Carl.
another story. So I thought, have any of you had this problem, and have you replaced your steering column? And what are some do's and don'ts, or what should I be asking about or looking into?
So Alden has his hand raised.
Yes, I've been through this with a Dodge truck I own. And I bought a Austin BJ8 this last March or end of February. And I have a steering in the middle that just is a little loose. And I can agree with you, Carl, there's nothing that takes the fun of driving out like a loose steering. It just doesn't feel good. But for the Dodge, for the truck, I was put onto a company called Lares Corporation, L-A-R-E-S, out, and I've forgotten where it's out in the Midwest. And they did a beautiful job on the truck, really beautiful. And I've just taken the steering gear out of my BJ8 and I'm sending it out to them. And I know another person who has a BJ8 who went and bought a new one, but I have elected not to buy a new one because I'm not sure that the aftermarket reproductions are as good as as somebody who knows what they're doing, putting it back to original factory specifications. So that's what I've done. And if you look up on the internet, Lares Corporation, and all they do is steering, and they do a lot of it for old cars, for trucks, for new, old, whatever. They're highly experienced.
He was
Do you know where
comfortable.
they're based?
They're out in the Midwest. I without looking it up, I can't
Okay.
tell you right at the moment.
Okay.
N-A-R-E-S. Did he feel comfortable with the British filler?
L as in Lima, Lares Corporation. Look it up on the
Okay.
internet. You'll find it very quickly.
And you had good results and you were comfortable with us working on a British car,
They do
old
all, they do,
Austin-Healey?
yeah, they did a Dodge truck for me, and those are, this is just, it came out beautifully. I mean, that just drives like new. So it won't be cheap, but there's the mechanic that works on my car says there's nothing wrong with these cars that money won't fix.
That's right.
So, so if you want to, if they're too, the steering is too lovely on those cars for not to not have them tight and right, because it's just lovely to drive them.
So Bob
Okay.
Abbott,
Looks
any
like they're in
recommendations for Carl? Bob?
No, I think, as I recall, we tried to tighten it up a little bit, but when we had Carl's car up in our shop, then it was binding just right or left of dead center, because dead center is the loosest spot.
Right.
I think that we used Cornhuskers grease to fill it up again, or corn head grease to fill it up, and that sometimes takes some of that away, but that was before he went to Rhode Island. So if it's still bad, I put new steering gear in. We got them out of England. They functioned fine for the 3 cars I put them in, but I'm very interested in checking out this Lears Corporation and see if they can offer anything. The only problem I see is that it's very difficult, and I don't know how to get the steering box off the end of the steering column. That's a big package to ship all the way out to the Midwest.
Actually, it isn't too bad at all. There's a local guy at the Imported Car Center is the name of the business here in Vermont, South Burlington, Vermont. And there's a guy there that's done a couple of them, and he has the whole steering gear out in a couple of hours. Take the grill off, get out of the dash, take out the trafficator, and it all comes right out the front. And then you
Well,
get a
realize
long
that,
thin
yeah.
box, and
I'm saying that the steering column does not come off of the box.
the steering, no, you send the whole thing. You
Yeah,
send the whole
that's
thing.
got to
You
be
just,
an expensive shipping package to send that
No.
out to the Midwest. It's 7 feet long.
well, well, nothing is cheap. You can't take the box. You can't, well, for one thing, the gear is attached to the shaft. I don't know
Right.
how you would take the box off without including the shaft.
You can
Correct.
actually take the worm off the shaft without too much difficulty.
You can, Michael?
Yeah, just I do them quite frequently. You make up a tool to fit inside. There's a hole inside the shaft. We make up a tool that fits just inside the hole with maybe 15 to 20 thou of oversize, and then we put it in a press, and it just presses off quite easily.
And does anyone have an experience? So I posted up here, Dennis Welch, and I've heard from others there that they've been pleased with the Dennis Welch and his reproduction stuff. And so, Carl, I posted up there. So they're 1,300 pounds, which equates to about $1,800 for a new steering column, obviously plus shipping from the UK.
That's pretty expensive.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, it's not going to be cheap.
I probably have 10, 15 of the things lying in a heap in the sheds.
Okay, so are you rebuilding them, Michael?
I have rebuilt many of them. Yeah, they're not that difficult. The difficulty I think we're dealing with here is a worm which has worn on the center section because somebody had it adjusted too tight.
Okay.
And so you obviously need a new worm. I used to buy worms out of Australia because in Australia they used to pop the worms off the shafts to convert them to right-hand drive cars, and they didn't use the worms. So I had a half a dozen of them. Perfectly good.
So is this something that you're doing commercially now, Michael, or not?
I could probably help somebody with it, but the difficulty, as everybody has said, the shipping of something like that is pretty expensive.
Right. So where in Ontario are you, Michael?
I'm in a place called Dwight, population 30. It's about 2.5 hours north of Toronto.
Okay.
But I honestly, I think you'll find that shipping something like that across the Canada-US border would be virtually prohibitively expensive. That's my experience.
So Alden, as it relates to shipping out to the Midwest, do you have a price yet of what you've been told to ship it from Vermont?
No, but I could find out because the imported car center where it did the work, they shipped it out for me.
Okay. So they've already shipped it.
Yes, I can find that out and find it out and let you know, but it can't be that bad. I just, it's a box that isn't extraordinary. It's just a box about a foot by whatever the length is.
So they've disconnected the shaft. They have just the worm. Michael,
No,
you're
they
shaking your
took
head
the
now.
whole,
Sending
they took the
Okay.
whole steering column out. Layers wants the whole thing.
Okay.
Not just the gears, the whole thing, so that all goes back together, you get it back together and you put it back in the car.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a lot of different ways of doing it. I can't envision how you would repair this shaft with the worm gear cut right into it, into the base metal. You cut it off and weld a new gear with a worm on it, or you
The worm is held onto the shaft with a spline. There's a spline cut on the shaft, and there's a spline inside the worm. So you press the worm off the shaft, then you put the new worm onto the shaft and swage the end of the shaft over to hold the worm in place.
that doesn't sound like a BJ8 arrangement.
Same as a BJ8.
It is?
Yep. They're all the same. They all have the same system of holding the worm onto the shaft. Easy as pie. When you got the gear. Yeah. I've done a few of them. The hard ones are actually BN1s, because they have a really weird little roller that runs inside the worm. But now AH Spares in the UK have made rollers, replacement rollers.
For the BN1s.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as I said, I think shipping one of those across the Canada-US border would be prohibitively expensive.
Oh, Carl, are you in Canada? Are you in
No,
Canada?
Carl's in Mystic, Connecticut.
Yeah. Sorry, but I'm in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Michael is in
I
Canada.
apologize for that.
No.
Carl? Carl,
Yes.
yes, I have a question. Have you looked on YouTube to ask the question on how to adjust the steering on the BJ8?
No, I have left it up to Bob Nicholson about 7 years ago, and Bob Abbott, and both of them said there is interference at each end of the throw, and it wasn't readily adjustable where you could get a comfortable snug.
'Cause I
Here.
tightened mine up a little bit and I think it turned all the way to the left or all the way to the right. I can't quite remember because it was a year ago. And mine come out okay.
But yours may not be as worn as much as Carl's is.
Maybe
Yeah.
not.
It doesn't take much wear so that you still get slop in the center when it begins to bind on the ends. There's nothing you can do when you get to that point, but have it redone.
That's correct. The difficulty is that the original steering worm has a high spot on center. So the idea is that the steering is tight when you're going straight ahead, but as you turn, there's a little bit of play, but that doesn't matter because the force is all on one side. But as you said, when it wears on that high center position, it's a lost cause.
Okay.
Okay, well, that gives me a lot to think about and a lot of different ways to go, and if I can promote Bob Abbott a little bit, I'll start working with him a little bit on some options and whether we send it overseas or to Canada or buy new parts and how we go about this. But thanks a lot for your comments. I appreciate getting me started on this.
Yeah, I don't think we don't need to send it overseas, Carl. That's the good part, but we can keep it on this continent. But that doesn't mean you may not get parts from overseas, from the UK. But yeah, so I went onto the Moss site. Moss was looking about like $2,100 for a new reproduction box from them. So in fact, Dennis Welch was cheaper than Moss was quite a bit.
This will be a lot cheaper. This will be probably roughly a third, depending on what they have to have a third to a half of that
Okay.
cost, depending on what they have to do.
Okay, and Bob, you said you're not familiar with that company?
No, I've written it down and I'll look it up as soon as the.
Okay.
is over.
Well, Alden, thank you very much for that. Maybe you got some new information there, so we'll add that to our supplier list. That's
Yeah,
great.
I just looked it up. It's in Minnesota.
And that's
Okay.
right, Minnesota.
Okay. Well, that's good.
And I
Okay.
got that reference from a person who has been a long time restoring Ferraris and all kinds of expensive cars. And that's what he was the one that sent me to layers for the truck.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Okay, good. Well, thank you, Carl, for the question. Also, it sounds like it's some opportunities here.
Because I don't want to rent a trailer and a truck to take my car out to Poconos.
Well, speaking of that, I will just bring this up. I am coordinating for those in southern New England that would be wanting to ship their cars to Pennsylvania. I'm coordinating that right now. I am going to be shipping my car out because I'm going to be driving my truck and the club trailer out there, and my wife's not interested in driving a right-hand drive car to the Poconos. So I am going to be shipping my car. So if anyone's interested, let me know. We're going to coordinate through with Brett Leonard, who both Bob and I have worked with in the past. So he can handle 6 Heelys. He's got a 1967 auto car tractor. You may have seen it. He took 5 cars down to Gettysburg in 2015 for us. So if anyone in southern New England is interested in shipping their cars to the Poconos, let me know, and we're coordinating that right now.
Yeah, keep me advised, Peter, on that.
Yep. Okay, Ted. So
Yep.
I'm working on that right now. So right now we're looking to get 6 cars in the trailer. So it's $1,150 round trip is what
Yep, Hey,
what we're
Pete,
looking at.
Yep.
Yep.
why don't you put me down for that?
Okay, Rich, I will. Thank you. Yeah, it's an enclosed transporter. We've worked with Brett a lot. He does great work. Never had a problem with any of the cars, and so we will be doing it here from at least from southeastern Massachusetts, but we could also go do Connecticut as well if people are interested in that. So
Will you drive the car to him or does he come pick it up?
well, so traditionally what we do is we have Richard, where are you located?
Medfield.
I know Rich is. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know Richard Duckett.
Well, me, I'm not interested. I was just asking a question.
Okay, yeah. So traditionally,
I'm in
what we
Southern
do.
Connecticut. I'm in Middletown, Connecticut.
Okay, yep. Okay. So traditionally, we've done a pickup up in Ipswich at Bob Abbott's place, and we've done a pickup at my place in Mansfield. So the plan, he's not going to make 6 stops to pick up cars, but we've consolidated. So probably would do 2 stops in southern New England. And then go to the Poconos directly. He'll have the tractor and trailer there for the whole week.
Okay. Are you in Mansfield, Connecticut?
Mansfield, Mass.
Yes. Okay.
Pete, I might be interested, but I'm not sure right now.
Okay. Thanks,
Still working
Carl.
on a car.
I understand. I understand.
I have a
Okay,
question.
please go ahead.
I have a BJ8 with, I'm not sure what's going on with the steering. Again, we're talking about the steering column. I have a old Monolita steering wheel on a non-adjustable shaft,
Okay,
but the spring is there for an adjustable shaft, which I can't figure out why. It seems, what's that?
Rich Ray, were you saying something?
No,
Okay, sorry.
It seems as though the steering shaft with the wheel is sticking out too close to my chest. And I'd like to find, if I could get the adjustable wheel, would it, if I put that on, will it fit on there? Is
So
the
you think
shaft,
it- Go
is the
ahead.
shaft adjustable, is the adjustable collar that goes on there fit, would it fit on one that wasn't an adjustable shaft?
Michael
No.
shaking his head, no.
No, the adjustable column, the steering shaft, that's the one that comes up from that worm, has a very long spline on it. I think it's about 6 inches long. And the steering wheel has a clamp on the bottom, which has that big nut. So the idea is you loosen the nut and you can slide the steering wheel up and down this long spline. If you've got a non-adjustable steering column, then the column will only have a spline on it that's maybe 3/4 inch long.
I didn't hear that.
Okay, if you've got a non-adjustable steering system, the shaft that comes up from the steering box will have a spline on it, which is only about 3/4 inch long. So
Okay.
obviously you can't make an adjustable steering out of that because you have to have the 6 inches of travel for the steering wheel for the adjustment.
Okay.
So
But
you
where,
need to buy a complete adjustable box.
So what does
I
he
can't-
have? What do
I
you,
can't figure out here is that, that coil spring that moves in and out as the shaft moves? Why is that there?
It shouldn't be there.
I think,
Because somebody changed the steering box. BJH didn't come with a non-adjustable steering column. They were standard with an adjustable steering wheel. So at some point in time, your steering column has been changed.
that's right,
Okay,
that's right.
okay,
Correct.
that answers my question because who knows who did what to this?
Yeah.
Right.
It's only 55 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Since the wheel,
Okay,
since
so I guess I just leave it with a non-adjustable and that's it.
well, here's a question. If your steering wheel is too close to you, that would seem to me that you have a adjustable steering column and a non-adjustable wheel.
That you can't attach the non-adjustable wheel to an adjustable column.
You can't, it won't fit?
Adjustable wheel is held on with a big nut, and an adjustable column doesn't have any screw threads at the top of it. So you can't hold the wheel on there.
Okay, so that he has it reversed. Okay, because why is the wheel so close to him then?
Because that's how long the steering column is.
So Bob, if I slid the two Allen screws on the side of the steering column, if I slid that wheel off and I measured the spline and it came to 6 inches instead of 3, then that would answer my question.
Have you ever had the trafficator out?
Yes,
Okay, so you undid the 3 grub screws, you loosened those up, and the olive nut on the bottom, and then you could pull the trafficator back toward you.
yes,
Okay, is there a big nut there to
no.
hold the wheel on?
You mean in the center of the steering column
Yes,
or underneath?
it
Which
would
one-
be down inside the hub. And
Under the
it
trafficator.
would be on the top of the steering column.
No, I didn't see that because I didn't have it all the way out.
Okay,
I just pulled it out an inch or so to relocate it, but I didn't look under there to see. And if there is a nut, what does that mean?
then it's a non-adjustable steering column.
Okay, I'll
So
check.
The adjustable wheel is held on to the shaft with a spring clip. So there's a groove cut in the top of the shaft to stop the wheel from coming all the way off if you have the adjusting nut loose.
Okay. Okay, I'll have to check on that. But thank you.
Thanks,
That's
Richard.
all I have.
Okay, great. And Ken, I see you've joined us. Hope you're doing well tonight.
Yes, I am, except for the cold.
Well, so Ken has a BN2, and you want to take, so you got some questions regarding your clutch, and then also regarding when you remove the transmission, possible replacing the wiring harness. Did I capture that correctly, Ken?
Pretty much.
Okay. So you go ahead, Ken. Why don't you give everyone kind of an overview as it relates to what your question is?
Okay, my initial question was in removing, I've got the transmission out of the car. And the way I did that was I made an insert for my engine hoist and actually extended it and was able to get it underneath the dashboard. And I got the transmission out, and I tried to use the traditional method of, grease to pop the bushing out. The
Pilot
pilot. And that did not work. But today, lo and behold, I bought a tool to do that. I work at an auto parts store, and hence you can see this.
Yeah, we can see it.
So I think that problem is solved. Bob Abbott, who has been a great help to me, suggested that I get that new clutch linkage that Moss recommends, which I did. And I know, Bob, you told me there was something to watch out for when I installed that. That upgraded clutch linkage.
If you have the upgraded clutch linkage now, when you install it, you probably won't have a problem. The old clutch linkage had a wear spot in the pin that goes through that rotating lever. And that's where, if it's adjusted in the wrong place, that's where all of a sudden you can get a lot of grab out of your clutch, because it's not engaged, and then suddenly it crosses over that top point. So there's free play there, and suddenly it's fully engaged without moving the pedal very much. But the new arrangement from Moss, or whoever you got it from, will probably eliminate that entirely.
Okay, that's exactly what it was doing. Now, the other interesting thing that I found was when I got the transmission up on the table and started cleaning it, is the 4 bushings on the rod that goes through the bell housing. One of those bushings, well, the internal one slipped out. So I imagine that's causing a problem also.
That's not good.
No. So I've got those on order, those brass bushings. So.
Is that on the throw bearing, Ken?
No, I got a new throwout bearing. What I'm talking about is the shaft that goes, that the clutch linkage goes to. It's got 4 brass bushings, 2 on each side of the bell housing.
Got it.
And when I was cleaning it, I noticed the one would have been on the passenger side, had slipped into the inside of the bell housing. So that might have been part of my problem also.
So is that loose now?
Oh yeah, it flops right around.
Okay, so but you were able to get the bushing out of the bell housing.
I haven't taken that apart yet, but I don't see a problem with it. I mean, it's got the circlip in the, and you take the fork off and it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
So,
okay, good.
But I was just wondering if anybody else had any other tips on putting it back together or whatever.
One thing I can tell you is getting the 2 cotter pins out of the fork where that lock the the clutch fork onto the cross shaft.
Yes,
Put a very heavy weight, like a big hammer, on the shaft opposite where you're going to hit those threads. Like you're going to unscrew the nut a little bit, and then you're
Yes.
going to whack the end of the thing to get the cotter pin out. If you don't put a heavy weight against it, the whole shaft bends and you can't get the cotter pin to come out. Put a heavy weight on the other side, hit it, and they'll pop out very easily.
okay, I understand what you're saying. Yep. Yep. Now, my last question on the transmission is, I don't know whether you can see this or not, but it's a brass bushing. And when I was cleaning the transmission, this brass bushing ended up in the bottom, and it's an 1/8 inch thick. The ID is 1/16 of an inch and the OD is 1/2 of an inch. And I can't figure out where it fell off from. And it obviously came out of the outside of the transmission somewhere.
So that's not one of the 4 you were talking about earlier, Ken.
Correct.
Okay.
No, those bushings for the cross shaft are, they're as big around as your thumb. You know, they go around that cross shaft.
Okay.
That was inside the gearbox?
No, sir. It's on the outside. And when I was cleaning it, this thing ended up in the bottom of the tub that I was cleaning the outside of the transmission.
Hold it still for a second. Turn it sideways.
Let's see if you can see. Well, okay.
Yeah, we're seeing your fingers.
Yeah, turn it.
That's
Turn it.
better.
Hang on, I can't see. Turn it sideways. Odd. Sorry, I don't know.
All right. All right.
Or Bob or Ken Beck, do you have any idea what that may be?
I do not.
Okay. I did lock out, and I have my neighbor does 1,500 horsepower tractor pulling, and I took my flywheel to him, and luckily, knock on wood, my flywheel is absolutely pristine, and he's just going to do a little bit of light cross hatching on it with a ball. So, I guess my other question, while the transmission is out, how difficult is it to rewire this thing? Because it's got all the original wiring, but there are spots where it looks like a bad hair day. You know, the sheathing on it.
Are you talking about
Depends who's-
rewiring the whole car or rewiring the overdrive?
Well, I'm the type of guy, if I'm gonna do one thing, you might as well do it all and do it right.
Well, it's a tedious project. You know, you got to take all the old wiring out and put the new in. You buy the wiring harness
Mhm.
and you have to get one for the overdrive and the main wiring harness. And probably a trunk wire harness. They come separately.
Yep.
And
Do you recommend Rhode Island?
Rhode Island is about 14 weeks out.
Really?
Wow.
Because
I use British wiring.
And they quoted me 14 weeks.
Wow.
before I
Have
can
you
get
checked British wiring?
No, sir, I have not.
My wiring harness was really perfect. It was just went in with no trouble. Everything matched the originals.
Was that a cloth wire with cloth harness, a cloth covering?
Yeah,
Was it really?
had all the same colors and everything.
Okay, and that's the name of the company, British
Yeah.
Wiring?
British wiring. Let me look it up for you and I'll see what I can find for you.
Thanks,
While
Rick.
while he's doing that, the last thing I had to do with side curtains for my BN2. And by the way, Peter, thank you for the pictures. They're going to work great.
Good.
Bob was able to come up with the side curtains but we're missing two pieces of trim, one short and one long, each of them, straight. So if anybody has any idea where I can go to look for those, I'd appreciate it. And then the last thing I've got is I got a set of relatively nice 106 side curtains, if anybody's interested. The plexiglass is so-so, but the frames are in great shape. And I'm done.
Getting back to your wiring harness.
Yes, sir.
There's a company in the UK called Auto Sparks. Let's look that up. They are actually the people who supply British wiring. You can get from them direct if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, so British Wiring is one of our sponsors for Enclave 2022. So
Be nice.
Yep.
Yeah, they-
Form-
they're-
No,
they're-
Hey, Ken, I had one issue with that linkage from on the deep, I have a BN1, but that. Creepers.
Call from
Potential spam. Yeah,
we don't want
So,
spam.
Yeah. So, God, stop it. So, that, there's one block that on that, linkage that fits on a stud that's welded to the chassis, and I had interference between that stud and the oil pan. I could not fit that block between the end of the stud and the oil pan, and I had to machine a 1/16 of an inch off of each edge in order for it to slip between the stud and the threaded stud and the oil pan. It may be unique to my car, but you might have that problem.
Okay, I do think Bob Abbott, you told me that too.
Okay,
That's
but
what
otherwise,
he had a problem with his.
All
Would you
right.
like a
I was
phone number?
impressed
Would you like a phone number for British Wiring?
I wrote it down, 484-281-8085.
Well, that's a different number than on their website.
Okay, I'm ready.
866-461-9050.
Super, thank you very much.
Okay.
So Ken, your questioning as it related to your side curtains, have you checked with Jeff Chrysler out in Vancouver? He's doing a restoration. I want you follow YouTube. He's doing a beautiful restoration of 100 early BN1 right now, but he may have some of those parts you're looking for.
Okay, I
At
assume
Heritage Upholstery in Vancouver. Isn't that right, Michael? You're shaking your head no. You're on mute, Michael. Michael, you're still on mute.
Sorry, I don't remember. I don't think that's the name of his company. I'll look it up for you and I'll get right back to you.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, I just bought a carpet set from Jeff for my BJ8. But he's doing a beautiful restoration on an early Healey Blue 100. And he's got it posted on YouTube. So
Yeah, unfortunately, my car has been rattle can metallic blue. It was originally carmine red with a red interior.
okay.
So, but
So those are the questions that we had that people sent in advance. So kind of we'll open the floor up. Are there other questions that folks have tonight?
Well, I have one question. Have any of you had a recent experience with Moss Motors having parts they send you that are defective? I've had kind of a run of it. And
So any particular types of parts you've had? I mean, it's kind of the common story that people hear regularly, but.
yeah, a set of rear drums that I had to send back because they were nowhere near round. Oh, and various parts. They sent me, I bought a battery switch. And I hooked it up, put it in, and everything worked fine. And I put it in my barn, and I decided it was a nice day. This is winter approaching, a nice day, and roads are dry. I took it out for a drive, and as I was driving along, I said, gee, I turned that master switch off. Why did this car start? I went back and looked at it, and the switch is always on. It won't shut off. So I had to get a new one. And I've had a couple other parts too. That it just seems like a lot of stuff that shows up that isn't right. I just wonder if this is something recent, or is this a long-term thing with Moss?
It's pretty much long-term.
It is. Okay, I'll just get used to it.
They are good about taking stuff back, though.
Yeah, they are.
Jeff Chrysler, it's right way.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Right
Yep,
way.
thank you. Yeah, did you hear that, Ken? Right way
Is
upholstery.
that with an R or a W?
So thanks, Ted Cryer just posted it here on the bottom of the page under the chat group, Ken. And he's got the
Yep.
phone number.
Oh, can you put that back up?
So just hit chat, Ken. And there's a red number 1. So it's Jeff Chrysler at Right Way Heritage Trimming, 250-813-2090.
Super, got it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much.
And so Jeff is Goff, not
As-
J.
As in Jeff Healy.
That's true.
Well, the one time I met Jeff Healy, I called him Jeff Healy, and he goes, "Sir, it's Joff."
For something to look at, Jeff has on YouTube 2 or 3-part series of the restoration of that silver blue Healy that Peter mentioned earlier. Very fascinating to watch, and wonderful work that he does, of course.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Ted. He does absolutely gorgeous work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's planning on bringing that car to Enclave as well.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find some transportation for him right now. He's not going to drive it all the way from Vancouver, but we're trying to coordinate. But we get 3 couples coming from Salt Lake City and coordinating transportation for them as well. So other questions that folks have tonight?
Pete, everybody.
Hey, guy.
Hi. I have a BT7 and with a hard top, and I like to keep the hard top on. And but I'm baking to death, and I'd like to insulate the floor. And what is that hard to do? I mean, I know you get that thin space age insulation. Is there any particular brand, I mean, any that they sell that you'd recommend for that? I don't know how many people do this. It's fairly common, I guess. But is it hard to do? How do you do it? Just buy the stuff and cut it and slap it in, or, is there more to it than that?
Bob's gonna do mine with Cool Mat.
I'm sorry, what?
Cool
Hey,
Mat will
Stephen.
sell you a Cool Mat will sell you a pre-cut
Right.
kit with all of the parts cut. And then it's just a matter of laying them in, and they'll sell the adhesive to put it down with. The hardest
Okay.
part's taking your old carpet up so you can put all the vinyl piece or I'm not sure what the composition of the material is, but we put it
Yeah.
in some other cars and it works very well.
Okay, it has the,
And temperature insulation,
so you put it directly on the metal floor
correct.
with the adhesive, and then the carpet also has that fuzzy hemp, whatever that stuff is, underneath. Is that just discarded, or
You
does the
put
carpet?
it back in on top of it,
Yeah,
put your Cool Mat in, and then put the horsehair insulation back on top of it.
yeah. So cool mat with a C. Is it
K, with a K.
with a K? Is it sold directly by the company then?
Correct.
From
I
them
think they're in
online.
North Carolina.
Okay.
Say that again?
North Carolina. I'll get you the number.
Okay.
And what's the name of the company? Cool Mat?
Yes,
So if you look it up, you'll find it. Be on.
yes.
KOOLMAT,
Correct.
I believe it is.
one
Yep.
word.
One word. They're very nice.
Okay.
And Bob, you said that they come pre-cut, so you get, do they have them for different Healy models or?
You can buy it in bulk and
Okay.
cut it yourself. We've used their kits before, and Steve's buying their kit and bringing it up, and it'll be all pre-cut, including the transmission tunnel. It works very well.
So
I have the
now,
number.
Go ahead.
704-662-9099. And they told me that once you call them, it probably only takes a day or two for them to cut it and ship it off to you.
okay. Great.
So do they, so whether you have a side shift or center shift, you tell them that different, Stephen, do you know?
I'm sure they accommodate it, but they have the mats for your driver and passenger are separate from the transmission. There's a
Right.
different,
So 3 pieces probably.
Probably more than that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna just be 3 pieces, Guy.
Does it make, I mean, it's 110 degrees in there now, you know. Does it get it down to what we call normal sports car temperatures?
well, it's
Well,
a,
one of the
it's
other
a-
Guy, if you look at if you put a flashlight in your engine compartment, do you see any holes through the firewall?
I haven't tried it.
Make sure you've got all those plugged, because you got an awful lot of heat coming through the engine. And
Yeah.
if you don't have a good seal around your transmission tunnel as well.
Yep.
So that's something I want to do first, is
Okay.
make sure that you get all those holes plugged.
Yeah. Yeah, my sense is most of it's coming from the tunnel. My leg, just gets very hot, the right leg, so. But yeah, I'll definitely check all of that, so.
Have you ever heard of a thing called lizard skin?
I've not,
Sounds
Ken.
familiar.
Yes, lizard skin is a liquid that you spray on. You can
Wow.
put it, we've been using that on frames, especially if we do a total restoration. You can put it on the inside of the car or the outside.
Wow.
It's a white, and then you don't have to deal with the thickness of these padded insulations. It goes on,
Oh.
it's probably less than a 1/16 of an inch thick. If you look on the internet at lizard skin, we found it at Street Rod Show. They have a hot plate demonstration with half of its hot plate, half of it's covered with lizard skin, the other side is not. And they turn the heat up and they'll put an ice cube on the piece with the lizard skin, and it'll sit there all day and not melt.
Wow.
Really?
Yep. And the nice thing about it is you don't need to cut it around all of the corners. It seals its gaps, like the gap between your transmission tunnel and the floor. It's really a neat, simple way to do it.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, how about mute?
So Ted, bottom left is the mute button.
job. There she is. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, so Ken, thank you very much for that. That's good to know about lizard skin. So we'll take a look at that. And then, so
Buy it.
looks like Guy, you've got a couple different options here.
You can buy
Yeah,
it on Amazon.
maybe do everything. Wow.
Yeah, they,
Sounds
lizard
like
skin-
lizard skin might work on the firewall.
and we spray the footwells inside and outside. The firewall underneath, especially right under the muffler, keeps that heat out.
Yeah.
And we go back to the back bulkhead and up over the firewall.
Okay.
Actually,
And
on
you
the,
say it's white in color then?
I think they have two different colors. We use white because then we paint over it. But
Right.
they have two. One is the heat insulation, and then they also have one that's a sound deadener.
Okay.
someone just posted the website, and on that website, they actually have a video of doing it too.
Right. Thanks, Norm. And thanks, Dave. Appreciate you posting it. I don't know, can you see my screen now? So Dave posted in the chat. So this is lizard skin.
And
Wow.
it is water soluble also. So it's easy to clean up.
Great.
But so Ken, you're painting over it.
Yes.
Okay. But obviously, if it's anything that is underneath carpeting, whatever, that's not being shown, then you could just spray it right on there.
You clean it to bare metal. We've already done cars that have been together for years and driven, and just take off what you can underneath and spray them under the car itself, under the floors.
Okay.
Without taking the interiors out or anything.
Okay. Wow.
Hmm.
Good to know.
Yeah, check it out.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for that, Ed.
Yeah,
Advice, Ken.
thanks very
Appreciate
much.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks for the question, Guy. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Other questions tonight?
By the way, I just want to say one other thing. Albert Viadar did a fantastic job with my hardtop restoration. And it's now a white hardtop. And it's absolutely, looks so good, you want to eat it. I mean, so
Al
if
does great
anybody-
work.
Yeah, please spread the word. Albert Viadar in Gloucester just does wonderful work, so.
Yep, he certainly does. And you know, I think a couple of our other members have used Al to restore hardtops before. So yeah, he does do great work. So thanks for the acknowledgement of that, Guy.
Yep.
Cool.
Peter, this is Rich. I just wanted
Rich.
to ask if anybody knew, I live in Medfield and Mass, and I need to find somebody to install my my soft top on my BT7. I was wondering if anybody had some recommendations.
I've used a fellow in Waltham, Mass called A1 Auto, and they do interior work and tops with all sorts of great cars like Porsches. And he did my boot on my BJ8 and also did a nice repair on the driver's seat. So it's Waltham, Mass. It's A1 Auto. Let me see if I have his number, but I know he does tops.
Okay.
I have another recommendation for you also.
Please.
This girl's name is Angel Eaton. And she was the shop foreman and manager for LeBaron and Bonnie. And she lives just over the border in New Hampshire. And I have her phone number here.
Okay.
603-944-8746. And
Great.
you can tell I sent you to her. I think I told the story on this, one of these chats that I had brought my upholstery from a 51 Mercury. It's a full custom chop top over there on a Wednesday, and they closed up shop on that Friday, went out of business. And this girl took all of my stuff home and offered to do it. And I'll tell you, absolutely incredible job. I couldn't be more pleased with the work she did.
Great.
So that's Ken Gibson who's speaking, Rich.
Yes, okay.
And the number for A1 Auto is 781
Yep,
861
yep.
6611. And it's in Waltham, Mass, just probably, 10 to 15 minutes off of 128
Okay,
on Route 20.
okay. Thank you.
The other one, Rich, you may want to look at is Mark's Auto Upholstery in Foxborough.
Yeah, I've talked to Mark's,
Yeah,
so that's the one I was thinking of using.
yeah. I just let you know, Mark is currently in Florida, but Dimitri's there running the shop. Mark will be back in the spring. So Mark is semi-retired now.
Okay.
But he put the top on Donna Kennard's VJ8 and came out beautiful.
Okay.
So are you planning on buying a top and having someone install it for you, Rich?
Yeah, I already bought one from Robbins.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I have it, and I talked to Mark, and he wasn't able to do it until
Yeah.
like March or something. And I guess I could wait. But I was just seeing if anybody else has some recommendations.
well, you got a couple other ones there.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, so like I said, Mark's in Florida right now. I talked to him last week, and but Dimitri's there in the shop.
Okay.
So
So
that's, yeah, that's crazy, huh?
So other questions or comments or?
Peter,
Hey, Jim.
related to tech session, what if we can't secure a test?
I've got at-home tests.
Pardon?
I've got a test.
No, 'cause we're supposed to
I have
go.
tests here. If you can't get an at-home test, you can get a test, come over here.
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
Dave Malley's got tests as well.
Okay,
Did not.
So are you coming on Saturday, Jim?
yes,
Okay, great. So we'll get you a test when you arrive.
okay.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
Yeah, I need,
Go ahead, Rich. I mean, go ahead, Jim, sorry. And then we'll go to Ken.
I need some custom wiring on a 62 Bug-Eye. Any recommendations?
Custom wiring, what part of custom are you doing?
Three things, taillights, converted those to LEDs.
Oh, the LEDs?
I want to redo my ignition switch. And the last item is the fuse box or fuse panel. I want to separate it into 4 circuits rather than the 2.
Well, Bob Abbott talked earlier about Rhode Island wiring, which is in North Kingstown.
Yeah.
They're quoting, 12, 13 weeks.
But they only do complete custom or complete harnesses, no custom, no custom wiring.
Okay, now, the other one we talked about earlier was British wiring. I'm not sure if that's an opportunity. Oh, Mike Salter's shaking his head no. Mike, you're on mute. Mike Salter, you're on mute.
You're looking for a shop to do wiring service. Those guys just make harnesses. So you're looking for an auto electrician, if such things still exist.
That's what I'm looking for, yes.
Bob, you know of anyone in Massachusetts?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. So Jim Constantine, have you checked with Bob Nicholson? I realize that nothing he'd do, but did he have any recommendations for you?
I will check with him.
Yeah,
I thought I'd wait till after tonight and then check
Okay.
with Bob. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
yep, okay. Ken, do you have another question?
Well, not a question, just another recommendation. I don't know if anybody needs stainless, trim for Healy or, any other car you might have. But I've had two very good experiences with a place called G&D's Headlight to Taillight Stainless Steel Trim. They're in Goshen, New Hampshire.
Okay,
So if anybody needs any trim, stainless steel trim restored, very, very reasonable and does phenomenal work. So,
okay,
and then the last thing I'd like to bring up that I sent to you in my request for tonight was, to have prayers for Lynn Wood, Bill Wood's wife. She has a bad case of dementia, is been put in an assisted living. And I know you old timers all remember Lynn and Bill Wood. They're just
Yep.
phenomenal people. So prayers for that family.
yeah, Bill's one of the founding fathers of the New England Club. And thanks for bringing that up, Ken.
Yeah.
Yep, so I know Rick Neville got that because obviously he knows Bill well too.
Yep.
So, okay. Well, thank you all for your time tonight. Appreciate that. So we will have our next call on February 14th. For those of you who hopefully it doesn't interfere with your Valentine's Day plans that day, but February 14th is the second Monday. I'm sitting here looking at the calendar, looking at that. So hopefully that won't interfere with your plans with your lovely spouses or girlfriends or whatever. But we'll plan again for the 14th of February. So thank you all. Hope you have a good week and good rest of the month. And we will talk to you in a month. Thank you
Thanks a
all.
lot, Pete.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Peter.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.